Hey guys, this is Alex. I'm here today to talk about a very popular CW show called Arrow. Now, before I continue, viewers out there should know I will be discussing spoilers, specifically in the season finale, so if you haven't watched the finale yet, please go watch it and come back. Okay, for those of you remaining, let's get this show started. Before I get to the season finale, I'm going to go through episodes and how they related to the season finale. I'll also be discussing things like tone, the differences between the source material and the show, and I'll be discussing my personal predictions for Season 2 and what I thought of the finale in this season overall. Okay, the story. So the basic premise of the whole series is Oliver was stuck on an island for 5 years. The series opens with him being rescued from the island, now grizzled and hardened from his time on the island. He returns to his family and uses a list given to him by his father and kills corrupt businessmen and criminals under the guise of Arrow, or the Hood Guy, as he's often referred to. We meet other key players in the series like Tommy Merlyn and Ollie's ex-girlfriend Laurel Lance. Also Diggle, his bodyguard, soon turned partner, and later to Felicity, a worker for Ollie's stepfather who soon turns into Ollie's partner too. Also, a primary antagonist is introduced with Tommy's father, Malcolm. Also, Laurel's father, Detective Lance, is an antagonist to Arrow at first, then through the course of the series comes to side with him. Another character we're introduced to is Roy Harper, a former street punk who, after being saved by the Hoods, is inspired to try and find him and become a hero himself. Eventually, Thea, Ollie's sister, becomes romantically involved with him. Also, there are numerous antagonists and other characters in both flashbacks and during current times throughout the run of the first season. Now, I'll briefly touch on the flashbacks to the island. Starting with the first episode, we get flashbacks starting with the boat crash, where Ollie's father kills himself in order that his son survives. He soon arrives on the island where he is rescued by a mysterious mentor character who trains him to survive in his new harsh environment. He is soon captured by Fires, the head of a group of military assassins who rule the island. We then discover that the mentor character's daughter is being held, which forces him to work for Fires. We also meet a character that works for Fires that shares many similarities with a comic villain named Deathstroke. We later discover, once Oliver meets Slade Wilson, the identity of Deathstroke in the comics, that the man in the suit is a former partner named Wintergreen. He goes on to train him along the way of their many attempts to get off the island. We go on to meet Shadow, the mentor character's daughter, who helps train Oliver in archery. They eventually stop an airplane bombing after the mentor character is killed along with Fires. It will be interesting to see where Slade's relationship with Ollie goes, considering we see Deathstroke's mask with an arrow through it in the pilot episode. Another long-running thread throughout the series is the idea of Malcolm's undertaking, who is blackmailing Maura, Ollie's mother, into aiding him and others in his mission. We also discover he is the mysterious Dark Archer. Going into the later half of the series, Malcolm's earthquake machine he will use to level the Glades, the place where his wife was murdered. Going into the season finale, he discovers Oliver's identity in the middle of an intense fight with Arrow. He feels regret for beating up Ollie. He ties him up rather than killing him. Oliver escapes and later runs into Tommy, who learned his identity and felt betrayed after Oliver had sex with his ex Laurel. Throughout the later half of the season, Tommy becomes closer to his father, who, after Oliver reveals his father's plan, rejects him, but to his horror discovers his friend was right. Feeling deeply guilty due to her involvement in the plan, Maura reveals Merlyn's plan on TV. The remaining half of the episode deals with Oliver's efforts to stop Merlyn's plan, with the help of Detective Lance, who disables the bomb. We soon learn there's a second bomb hidden in the Glades. Merlyn is killed by Oliver by stabbing himself. We catch up with Thea and Roy, who attempt to save a few people trapped in a bus. As buildings fall down and the Glades crumble, Laura is trapped in the law office. Tommy comes to her rescue. She escapes, but Tommy is trapped inside. Oliver arrives in time to see Tommy, who is fatally wounded by a metal beam. Tommy escapes, but Tommy is trapped inside. Oliver arrives in time to see Tommy, who is fatally wounded by a metal beam. Oliver arrives in time to see Tommy, who is fatally wounded by a metal beam. Tommy escapes, but Tommy is trapped inside. Oliver arrives in time to see Tommy, who is fatally wounded by a metal beam. and they briefly reconcile before he dies, and the episode soon ends with the grades crumbling and we're left unsure of the city's fate as the heroes lose. Tone. The tone of the series is very realistic. The names of villains and other more fantastic elements in the comics are either eliminated or changed to make the world more grounded. Characters like Count Vertigo are changed to drug lords, and the name of the drugs share his namesake. Many people have compared the serious tone of the series and numerous references to mimic and downright steal elements from the Nolan Batman trilogy, which I admit I noticed a lot too. I think that as the show went on, though while still having a few references and similar plot points, I think the show gained its own identity and went beyond what I thought was possible for the show and how good it became as it went on. Initially, when I first heard about the show, I thought it was stupid. Coming off of Smallville and knowing the reputation CW had, I didn't have high hopes. After having Green Arrow on Smallville, I thought it was supposed to be a spin-off of Smallville at first, and thought Justin Hartley would reprise his role. Having now seen how Stephen Amell took the character and made it his own, I'm so glad they didn't. I, regardless of my feelings towards it, gave it a shot anyway. And I have to say I was completely wrong. This show uses the more grounded elements and detailed story mixed in with great action scenes to create an amazing show. Source material versus Arrow. I guess I'll start off this contrast activity. Let's start with the biggest difference between the two. Oliver Queen of the comics does get stranded on an island, but both his parents die. Unlike the TV show, he is an only child and is left orphan. Also, another big difference relating to Green Arrow is he doesn't kill, with the exceptions of books like the Longbow Hunters. Also, Merlin isn't the actual last name of the primary antagonist in the comics. It's merely an alias he goes under. He's also known as one of his greatest enemies. Also, Green Arrow is romantically involved with the Black Canary, who fights crime alongside him, and is the inspiration for the loyal character of Arrow. Also, Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke, is mostly portrayed as a villain in the comics and works as a mercenary of sorts, being a frequent enemy of the Teen Titans. These many differences in no way detract from the show. In fact, these differences work with the foundation of the show sets up, and in some ways is slightly more interesting than what is on the comic book page. Now my predictions and final thoughts. Okay, now on to what I thought my predictions for what I think lies ahead for Arrow in Season 2. I'll start out with my own predictions. Okay, let's start out with what we know so far. We get a brief moment on the island where we discover that Fires is working for a lady in red shoes, whose face we don't see. There's been a lot of speculation on who she might be, and I'll be honest, I have no idea who she is. I'll assume it's not the mom, or China White, since her face was shielded, so I assume she will be more heavily involved in the story of the next season. I also think that's fairly obvious that in the next season Roy will probably go to join Oliver and become either Speedy or Red Arrow. And we'll probably get some repercussions to Merlin being killed and that aftermath along with the Glade's destruction. I also think that as the show continues, we'll delve deeper into the island flashbacks and discover what happens to Slade and Shadow. I still wonder if at some points we meet Deathstroke or Slade in the current timeline. Also, Moira was arrested at the end of the finale after her confession. I wonder if she'll stay in jail or find some loophole and get out early. I hope they don't go with the latter, because I think from a dramatic standpoint it'd be more interesting to leave her in prison for a while. Okay, now that I'm done with predictions, now it's on to my final thoughts of the show. If you guys can't tell already, I like this show a lot. The tone, the characters, and the stunning action make this amazing series. It immediately rises above the other stupid team dramas and dumb sci-fi shows to become something more. I will also admit it's not perfect, and I have a few minor issues with it. One major issue I have with it is the back and forth with killing as it relates to Arrow. I don't have an issue with the fact that he kills, it's just that he can't seem to make up his mind. Sometimes he'll kill the bad guy and sometimes he won't. I wish he'd just be consistent. Either kill all the villains or let them live. Also, on a side note, with that, he preaches to Huntress, telling her not to kill when he does it all the time. Also, the mother goes back and forth between being a bad guy or being a sympathetic character. That could just all depend on who is writing her, but it's a glaring inconsistency nonetheless. Also, the one thing that I didn't see coming at all, Tommy died. I feel throughout the finale that someone would die. I was playing the guessing game, trying to guess, is Diggle going to die? Is Detective Lance going to die? Then suddenly, out of nowhere, Tommy dies. I was both shocked, but at the same time felt deep respect for the show for doing this. I immediately thought he was going to do something in the same vein of Harry Osborn or Lex Luthor in Smallville. Start out good and then turn evil. They had many moments like this where I didn't know what was coming next and was always surprised when I saw what happened next. Now, as I wrap things up here, this is definitely a wonderful show, and I can't wait to pick it up when it comes out on DVD. See you guys, and thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and keep sending me recommendations. I really like when you guys do that. I like getting feedback. So, I guess that's it. Thanks, guys.